feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank. When it take a swim, only option is to win.
Welcome to the Shrimp Tank Podcast post-show wrap-up. I'm your host, Daniel Goodwin. Joining me in the studio today is special guest David Mosberg. David, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Also, going from right to left, we have Jennifer Lehman, and their company is the Kalypso Wellness Centers, and actually they have several facilities and several centers. Today's story was a deep dive on their journey as entrepreneurs and their company, and also my special guest co-host and Shrimp Tank Podcast alumni, Mr. Dan Altum of the Young Learners Academy. Dan, thank you so much for being on the Shrimp Tank
Thanks
show.
for having me.
Yeah, so we did a deep dive today about the Kalypso Wellness Center, and you're going to want to download and hear the whole story. It's very interesting about all of the medical treatments that people receive benefits from, and you're going to be able to download a complete replay of their show at houston.shrimptankpodcast.com. Don't forget all of our shows on iTunes. So we had a couple of questions about the show. Dan, you had one for Jennifer. You want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So Jennifer's the kind of boots on the ground there in the clinic, and I was curious if you could tell us more about what the most satisfying thing is you get after giving these infusions to these patients and kind of seeing the results of your work.
Absolutely. The most satisfying and rewarding thing with what we do is we see results very quickly. Most of our patients, all of our patients, when they leave, if they came in with a migraine headache or if they're having pain or neuropathy, when they leave our clinic, it's very nice and rewarding to ask them, are you having any pain right now or do you have a headache right now? And they kind of get this look on their face and no, I don't, and it's, kind of amazing just to see that look on their face that, they almost don't even recognize what life is, without their chronic pain or their migraines. And then if it's a new patient and it's their first infusion, we always follow up within 24 to 48 hours and just to hear how they're doing and, just how they're feeling after their first infusion. And then we follow up, a week. And most of these patients come in, to do 1 or 2 infusions a week. And so we, get to see them pretty regularly and see how they're doing. But it's very rewarding to see how their chronic medical problems that they've been suffering for years are, they're able to get, a couple of days pain-free, which can mean a lot to someone who's in severe pain and, can't even function or get out of bed or, move anywhere other than the recliner. So it's very rewarding to see how patients do after
That's
their
great.
treatments.
It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. You talk about making a difference in people's lives, when you're solving problems like PTSD, depression, chronic pain, migraines, all of these things. These are debilitating conditions. And what you guys are doing, I was particularly intrigued at this interview that it's new, it's cutting edge, and it's a sort of a technology that was discovered a little bit by mistake. And so you're going to want to hear on the show all of the deep dive on the applications of these medical treatments. So I wanted to speak to David a little bit on the business side of things. You guys started this up. You got 5 different locations. You probably got your sights set on the world now. You may have private equity coming to you and, people that, one in and one in, on the action. Tell us a little bit about your growth and business development strategy and some of the things we talked about, David, in the interview.
Yeah, that's great. Really good question because right now we are in the awareness stage. Being cutting edge is not always great. If you're selling really good cheeseburgers, everyone knows what a cheeseburger is, so you just open up and get people to believe in your cheeseburger. In our case, we're dealing with a treatment that is very new to the marketplace. So our biggest stage right now as far as growth goes was putting centers in a few strategic locations, both in Texas. We have 3 locations, Corpus Christi, San Antonio, and here in the Woodlands, one in North Carolina, and then one in New York City. And the biggest component right now is working on our growth strategy for awareness. So people in the community need to understand what the treatment does and how it works and how they can be a part of it. The next stage for us, again, is also looking for strategic locations around the country where we can bring the program to increasing awareness, working with local organizations, with people that suffer from things like PTSD, depression, anxiety, and really helping them out, working with those associations to educate them on the fact that the treatment exists and that there's help for them. And that's really where we're focused right now.
So from a high level, and this came out in the interview, that the treatment uses, it can use different things, but one of the key ingredients is a low dose of ketamine that they use frequently in surgical procedures as anesthesia. So You're going to want to learn about that. It was a great interview. And how would our listeners get in touch with you if they wanted to know more about Kalypso Wellness Centers? What's the best way? I think you had a website or best way to make contact?
Absolutely. So we always recommend people visit the website at Kalypso with a K, Kalypso wellness.com. And on that website, not only will you find the ability to make an appointment, but you'll also find a lot of information about something that may be either your particular ailment, or a lot of the things that we treat are really not just an ailment for the patient, but they're an ailment for the family. And so we find that we're dealing with a lot of spouses who are becoming educated, a lot of parents who are becoming educated, or parents who are taking care of their parents now who need some information, and they can do a lot of research right there. They can also call directly. We have a 1-800 number, and you get to choose which site is closest to you right off of that 1-800 number by selecting one of the prompts on the phone. It's 1-800-RESET, RESET, and then the number 20. So reset 20. And so those are two great ways to get a hold of us.
So you might want some of that information, and you might want to speak to Jennifer also, because Jennifer's a physician's assistant, and she's actually provides treatment, and sometimes someone might like to your perspective on that as well too. So
Absolutely.
we want to thank you both so much for being on the Shrimp Tank Podcast, and Dan, my friend, and Shrimp Tank Podcast
It was
alumni, Dan Altum, he's awesome. I love having him around, and don't forget you can download a complete replay of the show at houston.shrimptankpodcast.com. We'll see you live here next week.